getting on. Sat by the fireside, pondering on. Picture book, pictures of your mama, taken by your papa a long time ago. Picture book of people with each other to prove they love each other a long time ago. Picture book, picture book.
Well, almost like a virtual Gulfstream Park yearbook as we settle in on what we hope will be a dry and maybe somewhat overcast Friday afternoon here at beautiful Gulfstream Park. Keisha Courtney, Jason Blewett joining you live here on this Friday edition of Gulfstream Today from our third floor clubhouse studios, and I'm assuming everything is okay in your neck of the woods.
Oh, it certainly is, and as Jason said, we're happy to be on the turf again today. Good to start the day, but hey, having those turf races always makes it just a little bit of a better way to start the day.
Absolutely. We ran 4 on the turf yesterday. First time in a week we've been able to conduct some grass racing here at Gulfstream with the wet weather we've had, and the turf to me looked very fair and even. It was a tough day at times for some short-priced horses on the card. In fact, we finished up with 3 winning favorites, but along the way, some heavy odds-on favorites went down in flames and were defeated. So we'll see what shakes out on this Friday, May 25th, as we kick off the Memorial Day weekend holiday. Of course, good stuff there, as we will be running through Monday, May 28th. And a little friendly reminder as we settle in again here on Gulfstream Today and get you up to speed with what's on tap. Just a 9-race card here this Friday afternoon. It'll get underway a little after 1:15 p.m. As of now, the opening high five has a carryover of over 2,000, and if this race stays on the turf, which we're hoping it does, the Super High Five begins in race 3.
That's right. So we'll keep an eye on that. But a carryover in the Super High Five, so keep an eye as to where it will begin. But $2,000 plus for that Super High Five. Race 1, no matter what, we'll start off the 50-cent early pick 5. And then we had 3 singles heading into the last leg of yesterday's card. And the Rainbow 6 stayed alive for another day, just over $78,000.
That was trainer Reed Nagel, who walked away with 2 wins. One in yesterday's first, the other in the Thursday nightcap, along with jockey Sammy Camacho. So about 80,000, just under 80 G's in the Friday Rainbow. That gets underway. A bit of an old school vibe, as we've been saying, with these 9-race cards in race number 4. And then we go full circle. I'll have a late pick 5 ticket coming your way for 50 cents. And we do have a couple of those very crafty and shrewd Venezuelan natives in the case of Gilberto Zerpa and Victor Barboza Jr. in the Rainbow 6 and the late pick 5. You may have a couple of horses that are going to be anchoring people's tickets. One for Zerpa in Pachanga Party in race 6. Do you like that horse?
I do, and it's pretty hard on paper not to and try to look elsewhere. Bluegrass Envy, of course, looks pretty strong as well.
And that's the Barboza horse in race number 8. So you might have almost 2 bona fide anchor-type foundation singles in the mix. So maybe you get away, you can hit for a few hundred today, to say the least, maybe a few thousand, and you won't have to put up that much money, which is always a beautiful thing. So that early pick 5 does get underway in race number 1. We are good starting out the program on May 25th. And again, we still have a couple of MTOs listed on the board right now, so keep it locked here. And of course, track announcer Pete Aiello will have everything you need to know with those Friday scratches and changes when we sign off the air in about a half hour. But what are you doing in this pick 5?
All right. Well, I had a bit of a tough time, and as you said, we're still kind of keeping an eye on things as we start today's card. So I'm going 4 deep in race number 1. I think the pace scenario is really going to be the key. You have Mi Kwaima, who's very fast. Balada has speed as well. An interesting scratch of Terry's Big Heart, who I actually did like. And then you've got some rematch horses in here as well. So I'm using 4 horses, hoping maybe get a little bit of a price in the first leg. Going with 2 horses in race number 2. Third race today, I am thinking that Luca Panici, off of a very good 2-win day yesterday, teaming up once again with Leo Gabriel Jr. I like the number 3, Be Kind, here in race number 3, but I'll also be using the number 9 towards the outside in Phenomenal Gem, also taking a class drop. As we move on to race number number 4, here's where the 2-year-olds do take center stage, and I'm using one with experience and one first-time starter. That's a race maybe if you want to put in a little bit more of a ticket with some spread.
Oh, yeah.
You can use a few more horses in that race. But we wrap things up with race number 5. I thought pretty key scratch in there of Diamond Mint, to be sure, and I did like Tenacity Zip at a price. So I totally reworked, and I think today, with the field that's left, might be the day for All About Yassam.
Oh, the Blewett best bet on this Friday afternoon. I am all about Yassam. So there is weight to be carried with you and I on board for Trader Joe Orsino, but a perfect spot. Shorter price with no Diamond Mint in the race, but boy, that is a beautiful, beautiful spot, I think, waiting in the wings there for All About Yassam, who's been running against Padilla, and just, he has shown up in spots where just those griddled 16K turf sprinting claimers have run on this circuit. I don't think he encounters that today.
And we say this all the time. Those races at that 16 level are just absolute wars. And it's been a while since he won. His last victory was 2016 at Suffolk Downs. I looked it up. And so it may be All About Yassam. It's just
I think that winless streak will be up in smoke today a bit later on in race number 5. Now, let's talk about the rematch fillies in race number 1. Always nice starting. And again, eye on the weather, but I'm going to say we're running this race on the turf, and I'm going to say we'll be on the turf the remainder of the afternoon here at GP. And just note, this is the first of 5 scheduled turf races on the Friday card, and it is nice starting out a race that has some quality to it on the grass, and in this case for the 3 and up fillies and mares. And it boils down to, I think, the real sort of nucleus of Friday's opener is about the 4-horse rematch here from Kentucky Oaks Day on May 4th at Gulfstream, won by the pace-setting Miquaima. I know we've got that replay queued.
We do. We're going to highlight Miquaima, the winner of the race, and the second place finisher in Pat M's Image. And as we pick it up here at the quarter pole, but as Jason mentioned, there are multiple horses coming out of this race. What I wanted to highlight here is Miquaima, easy to spot in the red and yellow colors and the yellow saddle towel of the number 4. She had things really very much her own way, setting the pace on the front end. Pat M's Image, the 3 towards the outside. This is a horse that just has totally outrun her pedigree, her odds, everything, every single time. Just could not get by, but a solid effort from her. I think the pace is going to be different today because of the presence of Bellata right next door to Miquaima.
That is the real potential monkey wrench. I'm wondering if Sammy Camacho is very aggressive and takes the race early to defy Miquaima. If she does, Miquaima might have a bit of a fly, so to speak, or at least a little bit of a feather in her path this afternoon after getting loose and controlling things and backing things down last time out. I still like the confidence Jaramillo brings to the table, and I'm looking for her just to outrun Bellata, although I totally admit if she gets hooked head and head, it might be a different story, and it could set the race up for somebody like Pat M's Image or even your stalker on the outside in the number 7 Conquest Dynasty.
I like to see Tyler Gaffalione getting this mount today. I think he's going to fit this horse very well, and she had some trouble last time out. She didn't really have the cleanest trip. She comes out of that same race again. Miquaima pretty comfortable alone on the front end. So hopefully Conquest Dynasty, who's been competing well at this level in her last couple, and even 2 starts back, Dark Artist just wired the field. So hopefully she gets a little bit more of a pace duel up front.
All right, a 4-time winner who's won half those lifetime races on the GP Green. As we head over to the main track for race number 2, Friday's early pick 4, let's get tied on with these Florida-bred $12,500 3 and up filly and mare claimer. This is not a consistent, or I would say very popular or well seen on a regular basis condition here at Gulfstream, narrowing this 12-5 open claimer down to the Florida-bred fillies and mares, but that's what you've got working today. I feel as though your horse, who I've got second, and your horse on top, the one winning for Sarah, it might be narrow, but she should be favored in this race because for all intents and purposes, I think losing and running a good second to Lexi's Dial, that's just a good effort at this level.
You know, I had a tough time with this race because I just went back and forth, and winning for Sarah, she's had 54 lifetime starts. It's been a long time since she's seen the winner's circle, and that's obviously the biggest question. last time out, she dropped down to this level. She ran a solid second. She just has been running before that against significantly tougher competition, facing Stakes Company even before that. So I'm hoping that Miguel Vasquez can get this 8-year-old mare who she tried showing speed last time. She's more usually a bit of a closer. I think she can sit a stalking trip from the inside post. I kind of liked her a little bit even better with the presence of Get a Room before she ended up scratching, because there goes Bella has speed on the outside. But we'll see what we get from winning for Sarah. The biggest question with Fergie-licious is that she won on the sloppy track last time. She'll get a good track today, but she comes back in just 7 days.
Yeah, right.
6
She's
days.
wheeling back. That was Preakness Day.
Yeah.
I don't know much. I feel it's probably a safe bet saying she is the first horse in the country that ran on Preakness Day, no matter what track we're talking about, to return and run again. So she does have that quick 7-day or 6-day turnaround. This is a move within a week where trainer Yvonne Belsour over the last 5 years, he's 2 for 8, returning 1 to 7 days between starts. So that's fine. That's 25%. And I noticed last weekend, and you'll see it to an extent with Sister Drama in the next race for these connections, Bruno Chickendons and Yvonne Belsour, real sort of uptick I felt in both the effort last time, just last Saturday with Fergie-licious, and even with Sister Drama. And we're always trying to stay ahead of the curve. I wonder if this is a barn that might quite simply be heating up. And that's why I went back to Fergie-licious. Even though the situation's a little different, this is not a 5/8 off the turf race.
No, it's not. And I do agree with you. I think these are the most logical 2 in this race. And if you remember, I've been trying to get Fergie-licious home for a little while. I liked her 2 starts back after she was getting back amongst the fillies after facing the boys a few starts ago. It seemed to me like they've just been trying to figure out where she fits. And it looks like maybe they finally found it.
And it took just a trip to get her in the winner's circle for you.
All I have to do is head out of town. And
out of town, out of state, about 500 miles north of Gulfstream Park at Pimlico Racecourse. We'll see how Fergie does in race number 2. We'll get on to race number 3 as we head back to the turf. Field of 10 with this 2-lifetime 3-and-up filly mare claimer. This race, along with there's a turf sprint down the line in Friday's 7, gave me fits. I just looked at this race for quite a while. I'm not sure who the horse to beat is in this race, although it is certainly worth pointing out that Luca Panici, and you noted at occasion your early pick 5 ticket and comments, coming out of a nice 2-win, big price 2-win, $550 double, so you know his confidence is soaring.
And I found this too, and Luca is a very talented rider, and when he starts winning, it continues, because you do get that confidence level built up, and you see that with jockeys in general. But good to see him getting on a good roll, and he's won a lot of nice races with trainer Leo Gabriel Jr. So I took a stab with the 3 Be Kind, who's making her 2nd start here at Gulfstream. She's also getting a little bit of a drop in class after facing $16,000 claimers last time out. And she actually debuted against 3-year-olds and older at the Fairgrounds back in January. She broke her maiden on a yielding turf course at Fairgrounds, so any turf course labeled as good today with some of the weather should be no problem.
Absolutely. We also have Sister Drama in the mix, and again, goes back to Yvonne Belsour. Seemed like his horses really stepped up their game here last week, and I'm wondering if that's just a barn to keep an eye on, and you might be able to get them at some respectable prices. If this barn does go on a big run, it tends to be a case where no matter what trainer you're talking about, they tend to get overbet when they start winning a lot. So I'd give a look to Sister Drama, and I'm thinking the 7 Bullet the Blue Sky. Have really no idea what you're going to get from this filly, but I like the fact she's off a 70-day layoff, and I know she was 1-2 last time out running for the bottom in a 2-lifetime. She's not a dirt horse. She is a much better horse on the turf. Perhaps she's just a shell of her former self. I get that, because she's fallen apart, at least as far as the running lines go, but turf is her preferred surface. So I'll give her a shot because she's fresh.
It is, and you might get a nice price on her, too. And anytime you can get trainer Angel Rodriguez at a pretty good price, that's always a good bargain as well. I took a stab using the number 9 Phenomenal Gem first off the claim for Juan Avila. I think with the blinkers on, she should hopefully be a little bit more forwardly placed, and the drop in class looks warranted.
All right, sounds good. As we go up in class and we chase 80,000 plus in Friday's Rainbow Six after this quick time out here on Gulfstream today.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve. Give bettors the information they need to win and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. Express Bet. We are racing.
Coming down to the finish with Fort Martin to catch him. They're not going to catch him. Fort Martin, the winner. He went clear at the start, and he's coming home, turning handspring. Forlani, brilliant in the statement master. What else? The red remembering the top traffic. Forlani gets deep, nose and nose to the wire. Forlani has won it.
Hearty welcome back here on this live edition of Gulfstream today. If you're just joining us, well, it's May 25th. We're starting the long and lengthy Memorial and Memorial Day weekend running through Monday here at Gulfstream Park. Keisha and Jason joining you from our clubhouse studios high above the finish line. And again, a bit overcast out right now. Good and good. And what are we doing in the rainbow?
All right, well, hey, no matter what's going on in the skies, we always have that rainbow here at Gulfstream Park. And it lived another day after 3 singles in the last leg yesterday. $78,000 plus. Now I'm going to start off with 3 horses in this 2-year-old race. I just used 2 in my pick 5, but I said, let me spread a little bit more to start the Rainbow 6 because you just never know. And I love when a Rainbow 6 starts with 2-year-olds because you can really watch the board and see how they're acting and all of that good stuff. Race 5, I'm going 3 deep in that race. Couple of key scratches in there. We'll see if we can get our friend All About You some home. Race 6, going with Journey's End and Pachanga Party. Pachanga Party certainly looking to be the one to beat. If you wanted to do 2 singles, maybe Pachanga Party is the additional one that you add. Race 7, going 3 deep, and my single in here will come with Bluegrass Envy for Victor Barboza Jr. in race number 8, who has some otherworldly stats that we'll talk about in a little bit later. And then we wrap things up on the turf, 5 furlong sprinting to end the day. I'm going with 3 horses for $32.40.
Sounds good, and you have both favorites I see represented there. And race number 9 this afternoon, the 1 Smiling Mason, and then all the way towards the outside with the speed horse, the 11 Little Plumbers. Got Tyler Gaffalione in the irons.
That's right. That horse has been pretty solid and can leave Kathleen O'Connell off at your own peril.
Absolutely. Now, a field of 9, meanwhile, in the opening leg of this Friday Rainbow, and the distance, of course, tells you on the dirt, that is, it's a 2-year-old race, in this case, a $25,000 maiden claimer at 4.5 furlongs. There is some guesswork to be had. You've got 9 in this race. 6 of them, 2/3 of the field, have raced before. Nobody's really distinguished themselves, but in terms of saying, I want that horse who's raced already, I think most people are going to go to the one we have on top, and that's the Cajun Breeze colt in the number 4. It's About Time, girl.
We've seen a couple of Cajun Breeze offspring here at Gulfstream 4. Trainer Michael Yates has had 1 winner, and we'll see Nancy Said So coming back on Saturday, who's had 2 very impressive second-place finishes. As far as It's About Time, girl, I think that the drop in class is going to help him. And looking back at my notes from his debut, he's not an overly big or imposing sort of horse, but he was well-balanced, well put together, and I think will certainly benefit from that experience.
I think that the people that stand this horse, Cajun Breeze and Shady Brook Farm, win as many races as you can with him, and it's just a very, very prudent, I think, placement. And in regards to the drop today with It's About Time, girl, I like it too. Nick Juarez rides. If you want a firster, the presence of Miguel Vasquez and trainer Larry Pilati, who's had a decent little meet thus far with a limited amount of starters, Zen Man seems like the firster that might be the one who's live here in race 4.
And this will be interesting, too. He's only the 5th runner for Freshman Sire. He's had enough, whose babies have been selling very, very well, even a couple that went for upwards of $400,000 or $500,000 at OBS. And, of course, he was very precocious, second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile when he was on the racetrack. Miguel Vasquez aboard. We talk about jockeys and high confidence and just how well he's been riding lately.
He's been absolutely terrific, still bringing home prices. Big fans of Miguel Vasquez. As we move on to race number 5, again, bit of that old-time vibe today with just 9 today at Gulfstream Park. And don't forget, the late pick 5 does begin in Friday's 5th race. As we go with the field of 8, we'll show you my ticket, which further down the line has got Pachanga Party as the anchor. I nearly singled Bluegrass Envy. I said, said, you know what, let me include Force. And he is another horse running today, by the way, off a fairly lengthy winless streak. He has not won a race since the New York Derby at Finger Lakes back in summer of 2015, about a month after American Pharoah won the Triple Crown. Think about that. But he is dropping down for a 35% barn at the meet. The single, again, the fresh Zerpa horse who's got some speed in the form of a Pachanga Party in Friday's sixth race. And I am just all about, I didn't single him, but all about Yassam. I couldn't resist there in this opening leg, race number 5 of Friday's late pick 5, a $16,000 3-and-up claimer. 2 scratches in the body of the field. Occasion you had noted Diamond Mint is a pretty big one that's going to be felt, not only in terms of just talent and overall ability in the starting gate, but that is, at least as far as the shorter priced horses go, that is going to bring the price and the odds of the 7 I Go for Greatness, who I used, and the 10 All About Yassam down. But it's an easier race for them, and I think All About Yassam also benefits a little bit from moving in a couple of stalls from post number 8. And as I worked my way through a few days ago when I was looking at the card with the 10 All About Yassam at Friday's 5th, I'm going, all right, so you got Sing Another Song, Our Independence, Royal Blessing, Starship Wildcat, Padilla. I just, even when Diamond Mint, who's a pretty good horse, was in the race, I just feel this is the easiest spot All About Yassam has been in just a really long time.
He's been running against some really tough horses, and I agree with you. They tried stretching him out to the 2 turns. No, he's a 5-furlong turf sprinter through and through. And as I mentioned, his last victory was July 10th of 2016 at Suffolk Downs. So it's been a while since he's seen the winner's circle. But I do think that he's run well enough against that tough competition, and he's pretty tactical as well. I like that he has some scratches to his inside. That's going to help him out. And of course, Joe Orsino probably still riding a high with a big victory from Imprimis last weekend up at Pimlico.
Who's a perfect 4 for 4, and it was just really great. I mean, we're proud of the product we have here and our brand at Gulfstream Park, now a year-round circuit essentially. Great seeing those Gulfstream Park honor roll horses do so well in Kentucky over Derby weekend, and obviously last Friday and Saturday up in Maryland. And Imprimis looks like a potential turf star. I'm wondering, and it sounds like the plan is they're going to try to stretch him out a little bit in distance, and why not? He is by broken vow, right?
And I think he can, and physically too. I think he can handle the 2 turns, and he handles himself beautifully against a tough field. And it was fun speaking to Joe Orsino up there as he was kind of reliving some of his favorite moments from Preakness with Red Bullet upsetting Fusaichi Pegasus.
I had noted that Saturday here, Joe was running a couple of horses. I said, think about this. It's been 18 years since Red Bullet beat Fupeg. Where has the time gone? Just doesn't seem all that long ago that just about everybody, including me, after Fupeg won the Kentucky Derby and became the first favorite in a really long time to do so, a lot of people were just anointing him the Triple Crown. And as we learned, well, it's not that easy. And Red Bullet certainly had his number in the second jewel that year for Joe Orsino and Stronach Stables.
Hey, that's why they don't run the races on paper, right?
You got that right. But in All About Yassam's case, I hope they do run it on paper and he'll get it done once he hits the turf course. Let's move on to race number 6 as we head down the line. I'd say we're making our far turn run now as we are about 2/3 of the way home on this May 25th, and we do cut back on the dirt to 5.5 furlongs with this bottom level $6,250 claimer. Not to sing the praises and give you stats and replays of a horse who's going to be an insanely short price, but these numbers are so outrageously big and so otherworldly, we just had to pull them with the number 4 Pachanga Party and Gilberto Zerpa, who's riding a high streak here to begin with at 50% in the win column. That's this meet in general, but when you look at what he's been able to do in such a short time since moving to the United States, he has really evolved into one of the sharpest, shrewdest claiming trainers in South Florida. Look at these numbers. They're outrageous.
It really is outrageous. He's done an excellent job and really seems to have his finger on the pulse of where to spot horses, especially here in Florida as well. So, and not to mention Pachanga Party, I mean, you've got the presence of Karate Jack, who used to show some speed before the layoff, but I really do think that Pachanga Party can dictate the pace. And even last time out with another good barn and Peter Walder, he won by 6 lengths and was very comfortable doing so. We both used the number 1 Journey's End in second, but to me, kind of looks like a distant second and would need to kind of close and pick up the pieces.
Absolutely. Get that speed with Pachanga Party, and if Karate Jack goes with him early, he'll set send him to the mat. You watch and see it about 3 to 5 this afternoon,
what
maybe
you
a
did
little
there.
lower. Race number 7. I just got finished watching the Cobra Kai series, so you can't. Oh, you still haven't seen the Karate
No, I
Kid, so you
haven't.
you have no idea what the Cobra Kai series on YouTube is. It was awesome. Great to see Johnny Lawrence and good old Daniel LaRusso again as grown men all these years later. And you need to watch the Karate Kid.
One of these days.
You're way overdue.
One of these days.
All right, 7th race. Don't want to run short on time. We've got about 4 minutes remaining here on the broadcast, so more on Mr. Miyagi a bit later on. Ronnie's our Mr. Miyagi. We've got a field of 12. In fact, a maxed-out field of a dozen here on the turf. These are 3-and-up fillies and mares running for 12-5 maiden claiming tags. This race might win the race in terms of the toughest, in my eyes, on today's card. I struggle with this race. I looked at it for a long time. You, however, probably have the starting point. It's narrow, but I feel like Monterey Marianne on the cutback to 5/8 is probably going to be favored.
She might be favored, and she's definitely got her own fair share of questions. She's running now for the lowest tag that she's ever run at, down to the 12.5 level. They tried stretching her out to the 2 turns last time. She showed some early speed, but just wasn't really her game. But I thought, all in all, she was running against a really solid field last time against Maiden 20. If you look back at that 5/8 race back in January against Maiden 35 behind Take a Stroll, who was just winning races back-to-back with 5 furlongs on the turf, she was only beaten half a length. So I'm hoping she can get back to that. Been working well. I thought that she was potentially the most logical, but not a lock by any means.
Yeah, because you also have, she's not a lock, but another major player has major questions. The 5 Hardcore Cat claimed a little over 2 months ago. It's been 65 days by Aubrey Mirage. Claimed for 40. Boom. Immediately in for the 12.5. That's obviously not a good sign. I took a little shot. Don't love the race she's coming at it, but it was a big field with the number 3 Not Nice. She was bumped pretty good at the break, and that really affected her, I think, in terms of her placement. She never had any good position after that. Like the trainer here, and again, Sammy Camacho, who Pete Aiello has sung the praises of, coming out of a 2-win Thursday.
He's been riding very well, and Amise El Jaramillo continues to ride well. We have a quick spotlight to show you on the 7 Cloudy Day, who might potentially be coming out of the best last out race. And there she is, the number 6 on the 26th of April. She's coming out of a race at this level, beating just a length, and she was pushed a bit wide. She's in the red colors and the white bridle, widest of all there. So unfortunately, she was never really able to make that big run to get to the other cat. However, she never gave up, and that's one thing I did like about her.
Well, fitting name on an overcast, muggy afternoon here in Hallandale Beach. Perhaps graduation day for Cloudy Day, who adds yet another contender layer to a very wide open and tricky 7th race. As we move back onto the dirt, our final race over the main track today goes as Friday's 8th, 3-and-up 6250 claimer, and moving on to trainer Victor Barboza Jr., your single in the Rainbow 6, and one of 2 that I used in my elite pick 5. Hands down the horse to beat, the number 4 Bluegrass Envy, who looks good no matter what off a daylight win, but much like Gilberto Zerpa, the almost counterpart from Venezuela of Mr. Barboza, and you can't spell victory without Victor. This is a stat that shows victory has come in spades with the second off the claim horses who are coming in off wins last out. That tells me these horses that are winning for Victor first off the claim just aren't one-hit wonders, you know?
It really is amazing, and I saw this same stat, and I was so glad when you pulled it because the 80% in the money, 12 out of 15, that they stay in such good form. They added the blinkers last time. He showed that speed, which really does seem to be the name of his game. It was a track that was labeled as good that day, too. So any sort of moisture in the ground this afternoon, no issue at the mile either. So I thought all things considered, he looked like he was going to be in the right spot. Force really could put a chink in the armor because you just don't know what you're going to get from him going to the 6250 level.
He's an old class horse. He's taking a big drop. It's a needed drop. He might not really want to do it. He might not be competitive for this level, but if he's going to wake up, it'll be in a race like this, and you get him at a bigger price, probably a sizable price in terms of the difference with Bluegrass Envy and Force. He's the main danger if he can grab some of that old luster that he had when he was a New York bred stakes winner at Finger Lakes nearly 3 years ago. And we'll wrap things up. Race number 9 here brings down the curtain. It's a 2-lifetime turf sprint, 5 furlongs. These are 3-year-olds and up. Key scratch of the 3, Arpanel. And I feel with no Arpanel in the race, the 1 Smiling Mason, who we have a replay of, and the 11 Little Plumber, they're the 2 favorites. How about the effort, though, with Smiling Mason? As Sammy Camacho has a lot of live horses on the card.
He really does. This is 2 starts back for Smiling Mason, and not only was he the number 11 that day, but I thought that he ran very, very well. I pulled the 2 starts back because he has shown to not be the most consistent, as he fired a bit of a dud last time out. But if he runs like this, now he's got, coming down to the wire, he's got Deneb on the outside, the number 7, who does end up just outgaming him to the wire. A very solid horse for Elizabeth Dobles. But I thought a big performance from Smiling Mason. I used him in there. I thought 1 Bad Ombre turning back in distance could be finding his comfort zone once again.
No, maybe 5's the distance for him. A good pickup by you, and he'll certainly be a bigger price than my exacta horses and Little Plumber, who's very logical, and of course Smiling Mason on the fence. As we go to a Smiling Pete Aiello, who's 1 Bad Ombre as well.
That's right.
He's certainly bad with that microphone on. The man has got skills, the voice of Gulfstream Park, smooth as silk, and he's coming up next with those Friday scratches and changes.